There's so many with Origin. I'll go to a disappointment. Do you remember Origin Olympic Park in Melbourne? Famous grab. I think you went on and just basically referee done it as he's a cheat. We're talking about Greg McCallum passing a time. Greg's sweet with it. Yeah. Well, you didn't take defeat well, did you?
No, I didn't. I don't know too many blokes that did, Bossy. I wasn't Greg McCallum's best mate, and he certainly wasn't mine.
Right.
And we took it. There were a couple of decisions, and I openly admit that I was trying to stretch him and trying to make sure that he was under a little bit of pressure. In the years that followed, I did apologise to him and say that was the way it was. And he sort of said, well, I took up a position like this. I knew I was going to cop some. Just didn't know I was going to cop that much.
It was pretty blatant, the criticism you had. I think that, you know, if there was $10,000 fines back in the day, you were probably worthy of paying about 10 times that. It was a scoring punch.
Yeah, I was going to be borrowing some money to pay that fine, yes. I think.
The combination of what you achieved and people in other parts of Australia outside of Queensland, New South Wales, won't appreciate what you achieved at Queensland Cup level, playing for both Valleys and Wynnum. I mean, there's over 250 games. How do you look back on that? If you had never played in a competition that was the New South Wales Rugby League, do you think you would have regrets? Would you have been content just playing out of the Queensland competition?
Yeah, I've often asked myself that question. I probably would say I would have been happy, but there was always the big question mark. And I used to get told, you know, you'll never make it down here in Sydney. And it was great to be able to play in the Brisbane Rugby League competition. I think what we did was inspirational for the young kids of Queensland. You didn't have to go to Sydney to prove that you could play footy. Admittedly, though, once the Broncos came around, that was when rugby league went through the roof. Yeah. Right around the world, not just in the country. And to be able to do it, play for the Broncos, and then, of course, you know, be joined by the Gold Coast and North Queensland was something else.
Queensland, revered, loved. South of the border, you've often told me, you wondered they thought you had something to do with the financial.
The financial case, yeah. First time I was kidding him cheering, Wally's a banker. I thought, well, that's what I told others that it was anyway. It wasn't quite that. To prove that you're deserved of being in the competition, 44-10. Was it?
Yeah,
I think that we won, and it was something else. I was up against as well Paul Vaughton. You know, I can still remember I used to have this ridiculous handshake with Fatty where we'd shake each other's foot rather than the hand prior to the game. And I walked up and Fatty said, "I can't do it. I can't do it. Everyone's watching us. I can't do it." And I said, "Come on, Fat, you've got to do the handshake." He said, "I can't do it. Bozo will see me." He said, "That'll be the end of it." Walked in and I kind of thought that we were looking pretty good. The players were under a fair bit of pressure. It was that we were unable to get there, but we knocked them over week after week, and it was good. But sadly, it took the Broncos 5 years to be able to chalk up that premiership.
And that's before, well, after you'd had moved on from the club. Now, with benefit of hindsight, and the fold-out chairs bring out honesty. And this is nothing against the Gold Coast, but would you like to think that the Brisbane Broncos were it? That you could have played out your career there? Was it a sore point with you?
Yeah, but it was something that, you know, the Broncos decided that they didn't want that, pretty much. And what was I? I think I was 28 years of age, so I wasn't over the hill, really. I would have loved to have played out my time at the Broncos. What was it all about? I think, you know, Wayne probably openly admitted that he did just want to show to the rest of the players that no one was bigger than the game, no one was bigger than the club, and no one was bigger than he was as coach.
All through this, and I do want to touch on playing for Australia, but relationship with crowds. Queensland, revered, loved. South of the border, you've often told me you wondered they thought you had something to do with the financial.
The financial case, yeah. First time I was kidding him cheering, Wally's a banker. I thought, well, that's what I told others that it was anyway. It wasn't quite that. I used to say that they think I'm in the financial game. Yes, into that. But
I love that.
In a funny way, I felt good about it because I
Yeah.
knew that if I wasn't 100% committed, ready for the game, by the time I got onto the field, I was ready to go. And it was fantastic. And if it was a promotion for rugby league,
Yeah.
well, it was so much better.
Well, can I put it this way? Because I was New South Wales born and bred. I hated you on Origin night. And then you'd win man of the match, end of the game, so, geez, he's a player. But when you played for Australia, it really was Wally Lewis is a banker. He wasn't the W. Yeah, you had the support of them then. I mean, we're a funny lot, rugby league fans, but that was great what Origin passion brought out. Representing Queensland, representing Australia, I think you're the best man to ask. I ask a lot of young players now, what do you want to achieve? And they say, I want to play for my state before the country. What about you? Queensland or Australia, what was the driving?
Australia. Australia had to, representing your country has got to be the greatest honour that you can ever have in your life, Bossy.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. And I mean, I used to be one of the kids that went along to Lang Park before it changed names with my parents, and we'd watch the games that would be taking place there. And you know, I just used to thrill watching the standard of play that was out there, and Bobby Fulton was one of the blokes that I watched most, and Johnny Raper in my early days.
Yeah.
I was a lock forward, and my dad used to say, try and model your game off this bloke. Watch him, and he was great. His cover defence was fantastic. So representing a country has and always will be the greatest honour that you can possibly have.
Here and abroad, and I'll tell you one moment abroad that we've replayed many times on the show. What did you have in for Darryl Williams?
Mercer, Freeman, comes on to Shelford. Oh, and what about that big hit from Lewis? Oh, talk about a bone rattler. Oh, Lewis came in and just went bang on Williams. That was a giant hit from Lewis.
I can still remember Darryl Eastlow, when you almost killed Darryl Williams with a tackle.
Well, I often tell the story at sports nights. I thought it was Brendan Tutor that was getting the ball.
Mistaken identity.
I'd had a look, and I thought, well, if I hide this well enough, I reckon I'm going to be able to clean him up. And I didn't keep my eyes on him. I kind of knew where he was running, and I went outside a little bit and just made sure that I changed angles, and then ran straight at him, put the shoulder charge on, went down on top of him accidentally with an elbow, and he looked up at me and I said, oh, Darryl, mate, I'm sorry, I thought it was Brendan Tutor. And he just went, oh, and just laid back.
What a test moment that is, yeah. And still, as I said, it accompanied by the commentary, the moment, then the full story. It is a great moment in rugby league. Post the playing career, things you've witnessed, when we see the miracle try run over again in 1994, you're there. It's almost as if you can jump the fence and be part of it. I mean, you still get stirred up by great Queensland moments.
Yeah, I sure do. That was quite remarkable. I remember sort of being pretty close to Paul Vaughton when he had his coaching in 1995 with the Queenslanders, when, quite honestly, no one expected Queensland to score a try. To score a try, let alone win a game. So they were quite remarkable.
By the way, Wally, did they get the statue right out the front of Suncorp Stadium? Is there anything they'd like you to touch up or look a little different?
It would have been nice to have a look at those two legs that they've got hanging out the shorts. They look like two pork sausages hanging out of there. And everyone says, oh, yeah, but you basically stood up there and you had that, your hands were tied up and they put on that stuff one piece at a time. And I said, yeah, it does look good. Have a look at Mal's and think, geez, what about the size of this? That's, but I never had a pair of shoulders the size of Mal Meninga, so perhaps that could be. But that's an honour, and to be able to go along there these days, and usually when we do, there's people out the front there having a photo with one of the all of the statues, and to get the opportunity to be able to stand in a photo with those people, it's fantastic, and you feel that you've done good service to the game, and you've been very lucky to have been in the right place at the right time.
What if I could say you could play another game for Queensland? You could don the number 6 for Queensland, go out there to your adoring people. King Wally, the Emperor of Lang Park, your statue's out the front. Would you like to experience that again? Oh,
it'd be fantastic. And I think you always feel that, you know, if only I could get out there and be playing with these guys, you know, we're getting beaten here. What would I do in these positions? I think it'd be nice, but I think I'm feeling pretty comfortable in the grandstand.
Wally, I'm here to tell you every accolade is deserved. You're a hell of a player. You know, when I was saying Wally's a banker, it was actually Wally. Wally, privilege and honour to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thanks, Fossey.
This has been a Fox Sports production.